nasty.
Welcome back, guys. Chuck Nasty on Fantasy Football here. You know the drill. It is Thursday, week 6. We got stardom situms for the week. I'm going to cover who you should start, who you should sit, a couple of my picks in a pick and pool, and then a couple of against the spread picks I'm taking this week. So, start off with the quarterback position. For those of you that are new here, real quick before I get into this, every Tuesday we drop streaming defenses and who to pick up on the waiver wire. Every Thursday we drop stardom situm with my picks and who I'm taking if I'm betting this week. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This channel is to be used as a resource to you to help you hopefully make the playoffs, make a little bit of money in your league. Last year, I believe I had 5 people before I had this channel that I helped create draft kits for, players they should target, etc. Since I spend so much time in the fantasy data wonderland. And 4 of those 5 ended up winning their league and making some money. So, doesn't benefit me in any way, but it was a good idea to start a YouTube channel and was suggested to me, and I figured here I am. So, let's do it. We'll go right into it. Week 6, quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson. I'm starting him. Okay, he had like 5 picks in the last 2 games combined, but he gets a sweet matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals and their secondary, okay? Totally putting him into some DFS lineups. I'm putting him into pretty much any lineup that I own him in. Not that you would really consider benching him, but just don't be surprised if he breaks off 100 yards rushing, 300 yards passing, and 4 touchdowns, because I wouldn't be surprised if that's what ended up coming this week. Additional to that, next up, stardom, the secret garden. I don't own Gardner Minshew in too many leagues, nor do I need to start him in the leagues I do have him, but he's producing, man. He's thrown 9 touchdowns to a single pick. He has had 2 touchdowns per game in each of the last 3 games. And he had the first 300-yard career game last week. So the man's just slinging the rock around. Not only does he look good, not only am I jealous of his mustache, but he's putting up some fantasy numbers. So 2 QB league, anything that has a quarterback premium league might be good for passer rating specifically. I don't know too many people that are in leagues like that, but he is definitely one of those guys that is putting up some big numbers there. And yeah, I just, he's got a matchup against the Saints this week, which is a little clunky. We'll get into it. Kirk Cousins. Now, there's probably not a ton of people that actually own Kirk Cousins. If they do, they're not like, hey, I'm going to play him this week. They're at home against the Eagles, okay? And the Eagles shut down a third-string quarterback from the Jets, but he's a third-string quarterback. They also gave up 422 yards and 2 passing touchdowns to Aaron Rodgers, 320 yards and 3 passing touchdowns to Matt Ryan. And very similar to the Saints, the Eagles have a defense that tends to funnel the opposing wide receivers towards the middle of the field. So he's going to have to throw it. They're not going to get there on the ground. Dalvin's not going to be able to pop off for 250 yards in this game. He's going to have to throw it. He showed last week that he can throw it. Most people are super short-sighted and just see that they've been running the ball a ton this year. He's going to have to throw it against the Eagles at home. So don't be surprised when he does. Whoever is playing against the Miami Dolphins, I'm starting, which this week is the Washington Redskins. I don't know who's going to start. I don't know if it's going to be Haskins. I don't know if it's going to be Colt McCoy. And I don't know if it's going to be Case Keenum, who had an issue with his foot going on. But whoever is playing against them is who I want to start. Streaming option. They're probably on the waiver wire because nobody in their right mind really owns a Washington Redskins quarterback. But numbers will be put up. And even on the road, my money is on the Washington Redskins to win that game. A couple of quarterbacks to sit this week. Now, not everybody can afford to sit these guys. I understand. But Carson Wentz with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, he's not had a good year so far. He salvaged a couple of his games with rushing touchdowns, but he has like a career low yards per reception. So he's basically throwing very short down the field. He's not looking for big options. It might change when Deshaun Jackson's back in there, but he has a really, really bad matchup in the Dome in Minnesota this week. So they rank 8th against the pass, and I just don't think he's putting up a ton of numbers this week. So find somebody else. The other guy that I am going to sit this week is Andy Dalton. Not that a ton of people have him rostered. You would probably consider streaming him. The Ravens have kind of allowed a good chunk of yardage, okay? 290.8 passing yards per game. And but the gist of it is they're still 10th best against opposing QBs. So a ton of people are getting sacked by the Ravens. The Bengals' offensive line is not good. I think the Ravens might sack him a couple of times. This might be a blowout. You know, it's one of those deals where I just don't want to rely on the Bengals this week. I think there are better matchups to play. And then the last quarterback I have for you to sit is Phillip Rivers against Pittsburgh. Now, hear me out. I have Phillip Rivers. I have to play him unless I play Darnold against the Cowboys, which might be a better option. But the Steelers' D actually looks like it's getting better. And they traded for Minkah Fitzpatrick. Say Fitzpatrick? Okay. Either way, why should you not start Phillip Rivers? Mike Pouncey, the center for the Chargers, is out. They did not do well against my dear to my heart Denver Broncos this past week. It just didn't look good. I think that the Steelers' D is going to be more efficient than Denver's D at home, and I just don't really think they're putting up a ton of points this week. So it is what it is. You can start him if you want to. I kind of have to in a league unless I want to play Darnold his first week back off of the kissing disease. I don't know. I don't have a great option either. Some starts at the running back position. Duke Johnson, Houston Texans. This makes me uncomfortable. It does. I would rather start Carlos Hyde, but there's going to be a ton of scoring going on in this game, and either of the two Houston Texans running backs are people that I'm going to start this week. Somebody's got to score. Somebody might score multiple times. Pretty good idea because the majority of the Chiefs' defense is going to be focused on Will Fuller, who popped off last week, and DeAndre Hopkins. But either way, high-scoring game. There's enough to go around. Everybody gets a piece. I would also start Damian Williams for the Kansas City Chiefs on the opposite side of the ball, primarily because when the Texans happen to be playing against a team, for whatever reason, they allow their quarterback to throw an average of 9.8 times to the running back. If you're in a PPR league, you need them points for those catches. And if he breaks off a run, it's even better. So in this game, the Chiefs are probably going to be up. If they have a third down, Damian Williams is going to get some pass work. LaShawn McCoy might get sprinkled in there a bit as well. If you have him, it would be a decent idea to start him also. But primarily PPR leagues is where you're looking to start these guys this week. Additional start, Kerryon Johnson at Green Bay. Now, Green Bay's run D has looked awful, okay? Their pass defense, which is like top 3 or top 5, against their run D, which is like 31st or 32nd overall in the league. So Kerryon's seen 20 or more carries in the last 2 weeks, and not a ton of targets, but he's gotten a couple. It's really, really difficult for me to bench anybody that plays against the Green Bay Packers just because their run D is so bad. I think he's getting chunks of yards this week. Playing at Lambeau, right near my house, too. Matt Breida against the Los Angeles Rams. This game, I love this game. I'm actually taking the over on this game. I think there's going to be a ton of scoring here as well. But in the last 6 quarters that they have had Tevin Coleman healthy, Breida has seen an average of 19 touches to Coleman's 22, so timeshare almost right down the middle. But the difference is that Breida gets the passing down work. Tevin Coleman gets the early down work, and Breida gets the passing down work. So in PPR leagues, he's going to get a ton more points. He got a nice touchdown on the goal line in the red zone last week. Extended, dove out for the catch, caught it, secured, points on the board. Start him. The Washington Redskins duo. Notice I say duo because anybody that plays against the Miami Dolphins is getting started in any of my lineups. But Adrian Peterson, Chris Thompson, if they had somebody else that was going to be rushing the ball back there, I'd be starting him too. But this is like the tank bowl or the toilet bowl or the rush for the first overall draft pick bowl. I'm just not sure. But the Skins are coming out of there victorious. They're going to blow them out. I just have a feeling. I think AP gets a ton of points. This is a positive game script, so it's not something they're going to need to use a ton of Chris Thompson on, but they will. But it doesn't really matter who's playing. It might be a good flex option for you this week to pick up either of the two of these guys. In PPR leagues, Chris Thompson's probably not sitting on the waiver, but AP might be, and I think he feasts this week. So just something to keep in mind. A couple of running backs to sit. Jordan Howard at Minnesota. Now, if you have to pick between the two of these guys to sit this week, between Miles Sanders and Jordan Howard, you got to sit Jordan Howard. The game script in Minnesota, I feel like, is going to be more negative. I have the Vikings leading. Vegas has the Vikings favored to win, so that assumes that they'd be leading a good chunk of the game, which means that the Eagles are going to be forced to pass the ball a little bit more. Jordan Howard is not the passing down back. Never mind, I don't even know if he has the ability to catch passes. He's maybe caught 2 or 3. The man has rock hands. He couldn't catch a cold, okay? You don't want somebody that cannot catch the ball, especially in PPR format. So put Jordan Howard on the bench. If you have to start one, start Miles Sanders, but hopefully there's a better option for you. Sit Joe Mixon this week. He's averaging under 4 yards per carry, and he hasn't had a single rush over 18 yards. Not to mention, of his total 68 receiving yards, 33 of those, so 50%, just under 50%, have come on one single reception. The Ravens are only giving up 80 yards per game to opposing running backs, and I'm not even confident that Mixon's going to get to that. So plug him on the bench. Move on to a couple of wide receivers. Terry McLaurin, Washington Redskins. He's another one of these guys that has the Miami Dolphins syndrome this week. He caught it. He's got the bug, and I'm plugging him in because he's playing against the Miami Dolphins. Now, he didn't really play the last couple of weeks. Tough matchup. Was out with injury, everything like that. But he's seen like 7 or more targets in pretty much all of his matchups and has had at least 51 yards with 3 touchdowns. So, bad matchup. Or not a bad matchup. Great matchup, bad team. Plug him in. The Skins are going to be throwing the ball. The Skins are going to be scoring. The Dolphins are the only one that's going to have the race to that number 1 pick. It is what it is. Michael Gallup, Dallas Cowboys. Now, the Jets are 24th in points allowed to the wide receiver position, and Michael Gallup is averaging 6.7 receptions for 113 yards and a third of a touchdown. So he's getting like just under 10 targets a game, which is huge. I wouldn't expect that to be any different in this one. Fire him up. Next guy got up, Christian Kirk. This is one of those games that has kind of a questionable over-under line because you feel like both teams don't really have a defense, so people are going to score a ton of points. But Christian Kirk was out last game. He's supposed to be healthy and back in week 6. And you look at the Falcons team, who gave up 14 receptions for 217 yards and 3 touchdowns to Will Fuller last week. Yikes. 7 receptions for 88 yards to DeAndre Hopkins in that same contest. Can they throw the ball anymore? That's 21 receptions between 2 receivers. Over 300 yards. That's insane. And then they also gave up 3 for 72 to Kiki QT in that same game. That was crazy. They gave up 5 for 91 yards and 1 touchdown to A.J. Brown and the Titans. 8 for 65 yards and 1 touchdown. Do I need to keep going? You understand that Atlanta's secondary is leaky. Keanu Neal, safety, hasn't really been playing. I don't know if he's ruled out. I don't know what his problem is. But the Falcons aren't good. And they're 32nd. For those of you that don't know how to count, there are only 32 teams in the NFL, and the Falcons are rated at the absolute bottom of that list with the most points allowed to wide receiver. Arizona Cardinals wide receivers, fire them up this week, baby. Let's go. And then Auden Tate, last guy. I picked him up in a couple leagues. Really like this guy. AJ Green isn't playing again. This man has missed like 4 full seasons in the last 4 years. He barely plays anymore. John Ross is out, which leaves Auden Tate and Tyler Boyd. And over the last 3 weeks, Tate has like 3 receptions for 26 yards and a touchdown, 6 for 88. He's seen at least 6 targets in each game. I just think he pops off one of these weeks. If you're in a PPR league, 6 for 88, you're getting 14.8 points. I'm okay with that from somebody that was probably sitting on your waiver. But the point is that he plays against Baltimore, just had an injury in their secondary. There is plenty of room for opportunity for him, but they are 26th in points allowed to the wide receiver position, so there's only 6 teams worse. Fire him up, get some points. It's pretty much all I have for the start of sit 'em this week. If you guys have specific roster questions to your lineup, drop in the comments down below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys, by the way, for 200 subscribers last week. That's crazy. Who would have thought that giving out fantasy advice on YouTube would get me to 200 subscribers? That shit's nuts, man. But anyways, let's go over my picks in the pick'em pool. I'll give you a couple of against the spread picks that I'm taking this week, and we can go from there. So, New England tonight, New York Giants. I don't think there's any question on this. New England's playing at home. The Giants aren't good. Enough said. Tampa Bay and Carolina. Now, neither of these teams is actually at home. I don't know who to pick because all of these games across the pond seem to go the opposite way of the way that I think they're going to go. So if I had to pick, I would pick the Carolina Panthers to beat the Buccaneers in this game. But since it's opposite, because it's across the pond, I'm taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know if it's right. We're just going to roll with it, all right? Maybe they can hang in there. New Orleans on the road against Jacksonville. This is one of those lines that was a trap line if you are a sports bettor like myself. If it's a trap, I'm falling for it. I'm going down that gauntlet like Indiana Jones, all right? That line was New Orleans was the underdog and was getting 1.5 points in this matchup. That is absolutely absurd to me, all right? I'm taking New Orleans in this. There's no reason why they should lose to the Jaguars. Kansas City at Houston, KC at home. I just don't see it happening. Deshaun Watson looked good last week, but this isn't the week for him to overthrow the favored MVP candidate for the year. Minnesota at home against the Eagles. Baltimore at home against the Bengals. Seattle on the road against Cleveland. Trap line number 2. Seattle -1 on the road against Cleveland. Something doesn't seem right here. But either way, Vegas has it figured out, and they're taking all of my money this week because I'm putting the entire house, the entire mortgage payment into the Seattle Seahawks -1 against the Browns. The Browns haven't looked good. That's who I'm taking. I like Washington on the road against Miami because there's nobody worse in the league, literally, than Miami. I like Arizona at home against the Falcons because they haven't looked good. I like the Rams at home against the 49ers. That one could be a toss-up. The 49ers are a good team as well. I like Dallas on the road against the Jets because they aren't good. I'm taking Denver at home against the Titans. I'm not sure on that one. The Titans haven't looked great. They also still have Marcus Mariota as their quarterback. And Denver actually looked pretty good against the Chargers last week, but I'm just really confused. Do I want my Broncos to punt for a draft pick, or should I just hope that they actually win that game? I guess it doesn't really matter to me. Lose, get a better draft pick. Win, beat my friend Ben and his team, and suck it, Marcus Mariota. Taking the Chargers at home, even though they're missing Pouncey this week. I just don't think they're going to lose to the Steelers at home with a third-string quarterback. I am taking Green Bay at home as well on Monday night. So that's all I got for you. As always, smash the bell. Hit that subscribe button. Support your boy. Drop your questions down below. Appreciate you guys taking the time to watch the video and hanging out for a little bit. We'll see you soon.
That's nasty.